So what do I love about photography? I know I've been talking about it a lot lately. I have always been the creative sort, always trying to come up with things. I enjoy writing various fantasy stories. I love science fiction. I love being able to create. Um, I do have a background in computer graphics from high school, and I would often tinker about in Illustrator and Photoshop, just messing about, just having fun creating things. And I love being able to see an opportunity for photography. And even if I don't have my camera with me, I would think to myself, wow, if I have my camera here with me, bam. And a lot of you would think, well, you got your smartphone, use that. Mm-mm-mm. Nope, 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 nope. Because the smartphone doesn't give me the control that I want to produce this. This picture was actually very easy to produce. This was taken on my family's property last summer. And as you can see, the flower is in perfect focus and the background is not. You may have seen pictures like this in magazines of various subjects standing out and the background um, having a nice out of focus effect. It's actually not too difficult. In fact, it is not difficult at all to create this. All I did was to put the camera into aperture priority mode, which is A, and the rule of thumb is if you have a subject, say that flower, and you focus in real close on it, the lower your number, it's called a focal ratio, your F number, the lower that is, the more of your background is going to be out of focus. The higher the number, the more of the background is going to be in focus. So how much of your image do you want to be in focus and out of focus? How much attention do you want to pay to the main subject? In this case, basically, where do you want your audience's eyes to be drawn? In this case, I wanted them to go straight to this flower and not be distracted by what's in the background here. So what I did was I turned it to aperture priority, and then I used this dial here in the back on the back of my camera to lower the focal ratio all the way, we can call it opening up the aperture, to 3.5. And depending on the lens, most lenses have a maximum aperture. If you really look hard, I've seen them go as low as, get this, 0.95. However, I believe that one is strictly on a Volander, and that particular lens is out of my price range. But anyway, so you can see how easy it is to create something like this. And that's what I love, is being able to go around, search for opportunities, and create art essentially from life, from the world I see around me. These are all JPEGs, but I'm thinking about shooting RAW, and that gives me even more creative control. Again, that's why I love photography, is the aspect of being creative. Being able to shoot in RAW allows you to go in and tweak settings that you would not be able to tweak if it were a JPEG. But that's a discussion for another day. This is another example here. You can see that this house is not in complete focus, but it kind of blends in there. You can see that these flowers, though, are in focus, but they're starting to drift out of focus. This particular result I'm not overly happy with, and the only reason is because these flowers over here on the left, you can see they're not 100% in focus, whereas these ones here in the center are. I'll get to the reason why that is in a moment when we go over the cameras that I've got, or that I've used over the years. The final image that I wanted to show you, and basically how I came up with this is the same way that I came up with the orange flower that you just saw. But let's take a look at this one. For those of you who have been subscribers of mine for a while, you may recognize this. This particular image, it was a bit brighter here than it was than it is in this picture. And you're probably wondering how I came up with that. Well, for one thing, I tweaked the white balance over to one of the presets. I know it was not an automatic, but I can't remember what I had it on. So, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to tell you there, but I can tell you how I came up with this effect of being able to see. For example, if I zoom in here, is anything playing right now? No, okay, good. I'm sorry, I thought I hit a wrong key. We'll zoom in here, and you can see that we've got trees over there in the far distance. We've got houses, and I think that's a boat over there. Had I not done what I did, those details would have been washed out. And you're probably thinking, well, what the heck did I do? I'll show you. Basically, I turned the dial back to P for program mode, and all I did was apply a little, in addition to tinkering with the white balance, which you would not have been able to do, by the way, in fully automatic mode. And I don't think you would have been able to do this next step either. A lot of point and shoots allow you to do it, but this particular body does not. All I did was apply a little negative exposure compensation. In other words, I made the image darker. All I did was hold down this button here where my magnifying glass is, turn the rear dial, and I believe I applied either a negative 0.3 or a 0.7 of exposure compensation to make the image darker. And that's all I did. That's basically all I did to create that. So, but that's what I love, is tinkering around and seeing what I can do with my photos. That's why I've been thinking about shooting more RAW files. The only thing is, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, I've got a video up saying that talks about which software to use for processing them. For those of you who come from film, RAW can be thought of as your digital darkroom. You can't just view a RAW file. Not in a standard program anyway. You have to throw it into a special program designed to view these files. But the best part is with the RAW files is you can do whatever you want to with them. The RAW files collect a lot more data, and you can do whatever you want. You can be more creative. And that's what I love about this, and what I love about photography in general, is being creative. So let's take a look at some of the cameras I've used over the years. Back in the 90s, if you grew up then, you probably remember these little film cameras here. I've been using these off and on over the years when I was a kid, until just out of high school. And when I got out of high school, sadly one of my relatives passed on, but we ended up with their camera, and it was going to go to somebody else, but that particular person felt that I could make better use of it. So I used this for a short while, and I liked it a lot. It was pretty good. However, I was looking at the market, and I wanted something a little bit more, because actually this was, like I said, this was intended for somebody else, and I wanted that particular person to be able to use this. But I looked at the market, and I wanted something a little bit more modern, because this particular camera here is 10 years old now, and was several years old at the time. And with the way technology advances, Anyway, so I was looking for an update, and that would be this, the Canon PowerShot SX10IS, which I would still use. I've still got. The problem is, you can see the lens barrel is extended here. Well, unfortunately, the camera is stuck in that position, and I've already tried to repair it twice. The third time it did that, I decided not to do it, because the second time they charged me half of the camera's value to get it repaired. So rather than take it in and have them look at it and repair it again only to break, I decided to get a replacement. And that replacement is this, the Canon PowerShot S100. And it served me well. The Canon PowerShot S100 is a great little camera. It's an enthusiast level compact. It's got the amount of control that I want, but it's got a nice compact form factor. And it'd be what I'd use, except for one little surprise that I ended up with. That surprise came from one of my uncles, and that would be this. The Nikon D70. In fact, those images that I told you about at the beginning, this is the D70's top, the top of the D70. So that camera is what I used to create those images that I showed you back at the beginning. And I have to tell you, once I used this and once I felt the control and the creativity flow through me, I didn't want to go back to a compact, especially with a smaller sensor, because now I know somebody out there is going to tell me, well, why not go for full frame? Full frame compared to what they call APS-C or a DX in Nikon's terminology, DX sensor. There's a difference between the two of them, and full frame is better than that, but you have to understand where I'm coming from. Where I'm coming from is a point-and-shoot level compact, so in that respect, the D70 blew the S100 out of the water in creativity and image quality, low light performance. It was just a fabulous, fabulous camera. And in fact, if I have to go somewhere, it's the one that I take with me now. The only downside is that this does not shoot video, and unfortunately it's been eclipsed by a lot of feature improvements over the years, starting with the D90, which shot video. Then we have the D7000, now we're up to the 7100. So the D70 still has a lot of life left in it, but I feel like my creativity, I basically feel like I'm outgrowing it. Regarding, let me show you what I mean. Regarding this image here, the screen excuse me, I probably addressed this earlier, but if I didn't, I'm going to, and if I did, I apologize, but I don't remember. The screen resolution on the D70 is only 130,000 dots. And the trouble with that is, if you go and try to preview your image, you have a hard time doing it until you blow it up on a computer. You can't blow it up on a computer until you get home, unless you take your laptop with you, which I don't. And so you've also got a number of limitations. Focus points, for instance. The focus points are arranged in sort of a plus pattern, and the corners are cut off, which means that if you wanted to frame your subject and have them in the corner and have something, you know, some sort of nice effect in the image going that way, drawing their eye, you start at the subject and you draw your eye away from the subject or perhaps to the subject. The trouble is, if you can't focus in the corners, you miss out on that opportunity. And so the D70, you can see where I'm going here. The D70 is a fabulous camera, but I feel like I'm outgrowing it quite quickly. So if I were to upgrade from the D70, it would definitely be the D70-100, hands down. I'd also use the D70 for video, except that the D70 doesn't shoot video. The D90, like I mentioned, was the first DSLR to shoot video, and now the D70-100. The D70-100 is a major upgrade over the D70, so if I were to get something, it would be definitely the D70-100. But what if I wanted to go back to a compact? You know, those DSLRs are big and bulky, and for me, they're no trouble at all to manage. But you know, if you're going somewhere and you feel like you wanted a compact, after having gone to those bigger sensors, I don't want to go back to a compact camera sensor, and especially not a cell phone sensor for tourism, for example. So the nice thing is that they've got APS-C sensor compacts like the Fuji X100S or the Nikon Coolpix A that I can choose from. But no, basically, I've always loved cameras. I've always kept an eye on the industry, especially after getting the D70. and the Coolpix 8800 back a couple years ago, the SX10IS. Um, I've been keeping an eye now on the industry for the last 5 years, and I love cameras. I love photography. It's a wonderful, wonderful hobby. Um, and I just love being able to get out into the world and create, you know. Um, so yeah, that should do it. Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome, and have a nice day.